I hope it was worth the money, Harry, because today, for the Netflix millions and to impress your narcissistic, delusionist wife and her sycophantic, fake Hollywood celebrity pals, you have destroyed any chance of ever having a relationship again with your brother. You have let down your late mother, Princess Diana, who assured William he would always have the support of his little bro, his best friend for many years. You have trampled on the memory and life's work of the late Queen, who put family unity and the monarchy ahead of personal contentment for 70 years. But most of all, actually, you have let down the British public, who backed you, who stood by you, who celebrated your wedding, who adored your new wife, and who supported the positive impact you wanted to make on the world. And why? Because you're so bitter for being part of a hereditary monarchy where your brother was always going to take the throne, but you got all the trappings of a life of great privilege and unthinkable opportunity without the responsibility. Because your deranged campaign against journalists means you believe taking on a public role is all one-way traffic, and true stories about your wife's bullying of palace staff should be covered up as if we're living in North Korea. And I think actually because you're both deeply unhappy individuals in a toxic relationship who look to bring each other down rather than lift each other up. You cut out friends and family members who dare to challenge your mad decisions. But the most tragic of all has to be using your Netflix orgy of distortion and victimhood to publicly brand to the world your brother, your own brother who has sacrificed so much for his public duty and stood by you through scandal after scandal. You branded him a man who bullied you out of the royal family while refusing to address the actual claims of bullying by your wife. Watch.
I mean, the saddest part of it was this wedge created between myself and my brother so that he's now on the institution side. And I get, part of that I understand, right? That's his inheritance. That day, a story that came out saying that part of the reason why Meghan and I were leaving was because William had bullied us out. And once I got in the car after the meeting, I was told about a joint statement that had been put out.
A sign of public unity from the brothers, who issued a joint statement calling the report false, offensive, and potentially harmful.
I couldn't believe it. No one had asked me. No one had asked me permission to put my name to a statement like that. Within 4 hours, they were happy to lie to protect my brother. And yet, for 3 years, they were never willing to tell the truth to protect us.
But he doesn't stop at his brother. Harry also attacked King Charles and the late Queen for their conduct during the private Sandringham summit.
It was terrifying to have my brother scream and shout at me and my father say things that just simply weren't true, and my grandmother, quietly sit there and sort of take it all in.
And Harry even suggests his father leaked the story of Megxit to me.
They're blocking you from seeing the Queen, but really what they're doing is blocking a grandson from seeing his grandmother.
Later that afternoon, we found out that this story was coming out. Somehow the tabloids knew about this proposal. It became clear that the institution leaked the fact that we were going to be moving back to Canada. And the key piece of that story that made me aware that the contents of the letter between me and my father had been leaked was that we were willing to relinquish our Sussex titles. That was the giveaway. And I was like, wow, like our story, our life literally got taken from underneath us.
Well, sorry to disappoint you, Harry. I had the story before you sent the email to your dad. So once again, your claims, not backed up by any evidence, do not stand the truth test. Now, after their Netflix treachery, the Sussexes have lost the respect of the British public. Heck, they are so out of touch. Here they are, trying to convince us that living in a luxurious cottage with servants within Kensington Palace is like being forced to stay in some sort of hovel.
As far as people were concerned, we were living at a palace, and we were in a cottage
We were living on palace grounds. Yeah. Kensington Palace sounds very regal. Of course it does. It says palace in the name. But Nottingham Cottage was so small.
The whole thing's on a slight lean, really low ceiling, so I don't know who was there before. They must have been very short.
He would just hit his head constantly in that place because he's so tall. I don't think anyone could believe what it was actually like behind the scenes.
Well, Oprah came over for tea, didn't she?
She did.
And when she came in, she sat down, she goes, "No one would ever believe it."
No one would ever believe it.
2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a garden in Kensington with people cooking my meals every night. I'd take it. Look, I actually hope people watch this propaganda piece because it exposes Harry and Meghan for what they really are. I mean, they genuinely believe they were so popular, better members of the royal family, they say, than the late Queen, Charles, William and Kate, that Buckingham Palace conspired with the media to bring them down. Once again, there was no evidence, no proof presented, just the ridiculous ramblings of 2 paranoid people who have turned their back on the ones who really loved them, and the yes-men and women who surround them today, but are too scared to give them any form of reality check. If they weren't trying to bring down the royal family, I'd feel sorry for them.